In my previous life, Michael married me. After being reborn, my elder sister preemptively tried to marry him by impersonating me. I clapped my hands in admiration and quickly showed Michael my sister's round head. When I opened my eyes again, I found that I had been reborn back to the day when I saved Michael. In my past life, after I rescued Michael who had fallen into the water, I went home wet all over and fainted on the ground. When my parents came back from work and saw me, they directly shook me awake, scolded me without even listening to my explanation, and also complained that I had dirtied the carpet at home. But in this life, surprisingly, I woke up dry and comfortable in bed. However, my doubts were soon dispelled. At this time, my twin sister, who was supposed to be studying abroad, suddenly appeared in my room. "Little sister, come and drink a bowl of ginger soup." Sophia held the bowl and handed it to me with a smile. I looked shocked and asked, "When did you return to the country?" She said that she had just arrived home and also asked me if I had saved a man. Hearing this, I was already certain that she had also been reborn and even earlier than me. I directly admitted that I was the one who had saved the man. Her eyes lit up and she tried to probe for the details of the rescue in a roundabout way. I snorted coldly in my heart, mocking her for trying to freeload again. If someone else had come to snatch Michael, the psychopathic killer, I might have kindly given a warning. But if it was my sister who had killed me with her own hands in the previous life coming to snatch him, I would definitely offer him to her with both hands. I pretended to be dizzy and sleepy, drank the ginger soup, and then ordered her to find me some cold medicine. After taking the medicine, I lay down and closed my eyes directly. She dared not lose her temper as she needed something from me at the moment. She glared at me fiercely and then left. I couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her. I had to take good care of myself because I still had to deal with this pack of wolves and perverts tomorrow. The next day, I got up feeling refreshed. Although I still had a bit of a stuffy nose, it was much better than in my previous life. When I walked into the living room, I found that my parents had dressed up elaborately on purpose. My sister had even deliberately put on a dress like that of a stepmother, which accentuated her curvy figure and made her look extremely charming. Oh, she was well prepared for this battle. My mother gave me a glance, frowned and said, "You don't need to make breakfast today. There will be an important guest coming to our home soon. Go and stay in your room." As expected, I meekly agreed as usual. Of course I knew what they were up to. I opened the door, picked up the takeout and went back to my room to eat. After eating, I heard some noise coming from the living room. I curled my lips and walked out with the garbage in my hand. "Mr. Michael, it was indeed me who saved you yesterday." Seeing me open the door, Sophia rushed forward eagerly and said. I looked up and when I saw Michael, I deliberately pointed at him in surprise, looking as if I wanted to say something but held back. My mother quickly walked over and covered my mouth with her hand. There was a stern warning in her eyes as she scolded in a low voice, "What are you making a fuss about? It was your sister who saved Mr. Michael yesterday. He has come to visit us specially." After that, she looked at Michael with a flattering expression and said, "Mr. Michael, this is Sophia's younger sister. She has seen little of the world and has low emotional intelligence. She always offends people whenever she speaks. We don't even dare to let her say a word." Michael had always liked to pay attention to special people. I just wanted to show my face to increase Sophia's sense of crisis. I didn't intend to seek a sense of presence in front of Michael. Sure enough, he immediately showed an interested look and said, "It doesn't matter. Uncle and Aunt are being too polite. Does sister know me?" He had been on magazines because of some scandalous news recently. That little online celebrity who escaped exposed that he was into sexual abuse. The incident caused a big stir, but it was suppressed by Michael's family with money. Most unfortunately, that person still couldn't escape in the end and became one of his collections. It was also because of his showing off that I got to know about this. I timidly lowered my head and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito's, "I saw you in a magazine." He raised his eyebrows and smiled, saying casually, "In these days, some people dare to splash all kinds of dirty water on others just for money." Sophia echoed, "Exactly. I knew it was fake news at first glance. Those little online celebrities dare to hype up anything just to become famous. Michael then asked me what my name was. I lowered my head so much that my chin was almost poking through my chest and said, Emily. My parents and sister looked at me with eyes that seemed to hide knives, but when Michael saw my timid and unsophisticated appearance, his interest faded a lot. After all, torturing a lively and delicate person into a completely different one could give him that perverted sense of accomplishment. But it also made him notice the difference between my sister and me. If you didn't speak, I really couldn't tell the difference. The person who saved me yesterday. The three of them stared at me closely. I timidly held up the garbage in my hand and said, I'm going to throw the garbage away. With that, I turned around and walked into the kitchen, but I could still feel his suspicious gaze, but I wasn't worried at all. My mother pinned the incident of seeing me lying on the ground when she came back last night on Sophia, wiping her tears as she told the story with such sincerity. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Michael raise his hand and gently touch Sophia's round head with a doting smile. I also relaxed my brows and raised the corners of my mouth slightly. Based on my understanding of him, my sister's skull was quite to his liking. After all, after I rescued him, he had also measured my head with his hands. Michael had clearly already realized that it was I who had saved him, but he didn't show any intention of exposing it at all. He just let my parents and sister deceive him even without thinking hard. One could figure out why. It was simply because he had felt that my sister's back of the head was round enough. Michael signaled the servants to put down various tonics and then took out a check for 18.88 million yuan and proposed that he wanted to marry his savior. The three of them immediately agreed with their eyes shining brightly. After seeing Michael off, my mother casually picked up a feather duster and was about to rush over. Our family lived in an old neighborhood without an underground parking lot, and our apartment was on the 5th floor. I quickly dodged and ran to the window. Mom, Mr. Michael hasn't gone far yet. It's not impossible for me to call him back to confirm the details of yesterday. Seeing my unusually tough attitude, my mother was stunned for a moment. Sophia was quite affected by my threat. She snatched the feather duster and said anxiously, Mom, let's talk it over calmly. Then she looked at me and complained, Sister, it wasn't easy for Mom and Dad to raise us. Don't always make them angry. I sneered, Mom and Dad are helping you snatch my fiancé Ma, who is good looking and rich. Is it my fault? Alright, I won't waste my breath on you guys either. I'd better go to Mr. Michael. I pretended to open the window to call for someone. Sophia was so scared that she took a step forward. Sister. I'm sorry. Please don't make a fuss in front of Mr. Michael. Strike while the iron is hot. I immediately put forward my request, give me the check. I promise to take this secret to the grave. I'll let you marry into a wealthy family as you wish and tell you the details of saving him for free. When my mother heard that I wanted to take it all for myself, she was so angry that she wanted to rush over again. I immediately opened the window again, which successfully stopped her in her tracks. My father, thinking that he couldn't get a penny of the 18.88 million yuan, was also so angry that his hands were shaking. Ungrateful wretch. We should have drowned you when you were born. I rolled my eyes. He should be glad that he didn't drown me. Otherwise, where would they find a free nanny to serve their family for over 10 years? Now they want to marry into a wealthy family by taking advantage of my credit and yet are unwilling to share the benefits. Do they think I'm doing charity? I took a look at Sophia and deliberately hinted, Mom and Dad, actually, if I marry into that family, you can also enjoy a good life in the future. Sure enough, Sophia got anxious and pulled our parents into the room. A few minutes later, Sophia glared at me viciously and handed me the check. After successfully transferring the money to my bank card, I happily told Sophia about the process. After getting the money, I packed my luggage and left home immediately. They were immersed in the joy of being about to rise to prosperity along with Sophia and didn't have time to figure out the reason for my strange behavior. I was just in my senior year of college and was facing an internship. Now that I had this money and knew in advance the development trend of the next 3 years, starting a business became the best choice for me. In the past, my ideal was to be a laid-back landlady. If it weren't for being reborn, this money would have been wasted. So, I set my sights on doing. Nowadays, live streaming with product promotion was just emerging. I didn't know how to cultivate talents, but I knew who the talents were. I quickly registered a media company and without hesitation, invested 1 million yuan directly. Within a week, the decoration was completed and all positions were staffed. Within a month, all the live streamers who would become popular in the future signed contracts with our company. At that time, they hadn't made a name for themselves yet. They streamed live for over 10 hours a day, but the money they earned was just enough to barely fill their stomachs. I showed up with capital like a savior and signed them who were still in the budding stage under favorable conditions. Seeing their confusion about their future live streaming directions, I smiled slightly. I conducted one-on-one targeted teaching according to the ways they became popular in the future. In the first month of official operation, their popularity had already begun to show signs of rising. After looking at the latest operation data of the company, I picked up the financial statement beside me and answered the phone that had rung several times in no hurry. As soon as I answered it, Sophia's sharp and thin voice rang out, "Sister, why didn't you answer the phone?" My mother's angry voice cut in, "Emily, you're quite good at enjoying yourself. You took the money and disappeared without a trace. Hurry up and come back to cook and clean. We've moved to a new house, and all these chores are piling up with no one to do them. I order you to show up within an hour." I curled my lips. "I won't come back." Sophia deliberately provoked me. "Could it be that you're jealous that I snatched the husband who originally belonged to you and that's why you deliberately won't come back?" Looking at the profitable numbers on the financial statement, I curled the corners of my mouth. "I sincerely approve of your choice. Respect, blessings, and may you be locked together forever." Sophia snorted coldly, clearly not believing my words. "Then what are you afraid of? Come back and you can get to know our new home." I lowered my eyes for a moment and decided that it would be better to go and see what tricks they were planning. It's always good to know your enemy as well as yourself. I went to the villa where I got married in my previous life according to the address she sent. It was a 3-story small Western-style building. The gate was wide open. As soon as I entered, I saw the whole house decorated in red, looking very festive. Seeing me, Sophia showed me the betrothal gifts with a smile on her face. "Sister, you're back. This will be our new home from now on." Michael insisted on giving it to me. I just mentioned that I wanted to get married in a grand manner from a big house, and he immediately bought me a villa. He also said that he was able to marry me thanks to Mom and Dad for raising me. This house is his way of showing filial piety. Tisk tisk, sweet words came so easily to Michael. Just in terms of his verbal skills, these two were indeed a perfect match. My mother walked over with a small bowl of fruit and fed a longan into Sophia's mouth with her own hands. She said with a proud look on her face, "Our Sophia is so capable and sensible. The reason Michael tries to please us is entirely because you know how to repay kindness and care about your parents. He loves you and extends that love to us." What a good show of mutual flattery between the two of them. After saying that, she deliberately glanced at me. Now I wouldn't be sad or hurt by such provocation. Instead, I felt a bit of pity for Sophia. The Emily family was just an ordinary working-class family. Michael cared a lot about his reputation. In my previous life, I had never made such a request, but he still bought this house and gave it to the Emily family. His personality was such that he could offer something on his own initiative, but he didn't like being pestered for it. Suddenly, I was looking forward to Sophia's wedding night. My father brought a cup of bird's nest soup from the kitchen and put it on the coffee table. When he looked at Sophia, he smiled so much that his eyes almost narrowed into slits. "Sophia, this is the top-notch tonic that Michael brought when he came to propose marriage. Remember to drink it when it cools down a bit." This bird's nest soup ended up in the same person's stomach in both lifetimes. I couldn't help but sigh that people might have different fates even if they were in similar situations. Although I was younger than Sophia, I was always taciturn while she seemed to be born with the ability to be good at handling things and pleasing others. She managed to coax our parents into treating me like a rough servant girl in the old society. In my previous life, she also successfully made me go through fire and water for their family of 3. When Michael came to propose marriage, after our parents were shocked by the wealthy and noble family background of the Michael family, they had thought about asking Sophia to come back and replace me. When Sophia was killing me, she even complained to me that our parents had been worried about the strict rules of the wealthy family back then, fearing that she would be wronged. So they deliberately concealed the identity of the Michael family, which made her miss the opportunity to marry into it. If it weren't for the fact that I always brought money home for her to live abroad, she wouldn't have let me enjoy the life of a wealthy lady for 3 years for nothing. And the reason why she came back to kill me this time was even simpler and more brutal. Abroad, there was no control over gambling, prostitution, and drug use. Sophia loved to seek pleasure and got involved in all of them, and she demanded more and more money. I couldn't remit the huge amount of living expenses as she asked, so she wanted to cut out the middleman, me, and come back to take my place. However, after she hit me with her car, she suddenly swerved and crashed into a large truck. Now it seemed that she, like me, was reborn after death. I didn't know what she had said to make our parents put aside their concerns and agree to her replacement. Seeing that I had an indifferent expression, Sophia was a bit dissatisfied. She pulled me to the sofa. She opened 2 jewelry boxes triumphantly and showed them off, saying, "These are 2 sets of jewelry that your brother-in-law personally picked out for me. He said that I and Mom should wear them on the wedding day." I said I didn't want them, but he insisted on giving them to me. "Sister, he originally said that he would give a set to you too, but I thought that although we are not wealthy, we should still know our limits in our behavior, so I refused. But don't worry, as long as you are as obedient and sensible as before, even if I'm living a life of luxury and wealth, I won't forget you." This was a blatant hint. I showed the envy that she wanted to see and said, "Brother-in-law is really nice to you. I've heard that this kind of set is especially expensive." Sophia covered her mouth and chuckled softly. The look of pride in her eyes became even stronger. "It's okay. The 2 sets together are just over 10 million yuan. I looked shocked, acting like someone who had never seen the world. She glanced at me disdainfully and sneered, "This is just a small thing, and you're so surprised. You're so worthless. Most of the people who will attend the wedding tomorrow are high-ranking officials and nobles. Don't embarrass me." I nodded with a silly smile. Seeing this, she asked casually, "Where did you spend the more than 10 million yuan of the betrothal gifts that I got?" I knew that I couldn't come here for nothing today. I said curiously, "Sister, don't tell me you regret it and want to exchange your brother-in-law for my more than 10 million yuan? Sophia immediately glared at me excitedly, "In your dreams." She wasn't stupid. Once she married into the Michael family, she could get as many 18.88 million yuan as she wanted. My mother looked at me with a look of hating that I couldn't make something of myself. "Your sister is giving you a chance to show yourself. If our family returns the 18.88 million yuan as a dowry, the Michael family will think more highly of your sister. If she lives well, could she forget you, her own sister? What a chance. In my previous life when I got married, I didn't even touch a penny of this money. In this life, with the roles reversed, I was supposed to use this money to pave the way for Sophia to marry into the Michael family." I replied stubbornly, "All I know is that I gave up the chance for my sister to marry into a wealthy family. If you want the money, then I'll go and live the life of a wealthy lady. It's a choice between the two, and I don't care." My mother was so angry at seeing that I was determined not to give the money that her teeth itched with anger. "You little brat, you're so short-sighted. With your stupid look, you wouldn't survive even one episode in a drama about wealthy families. There are many troubles in big and noble families. Your sister is marrying into it to endure hardships on your behalf. You don't know how to be grateful and still say such things to hurt her feelings." Hearing these words, Sophia seemed to have suffered a great injustice. With red eyes, she said, "Emily is still young and doesn't understand things. She doesn't understand our good intentions. Sister, I also want to marry into it in a grand manner so that I can have some face in front of Michael's friends, which will be convenient for building good relationships and getting you married into this circle too. Then you can also live such a life in the future." Hearing Sophia's plan, our parents looked touched and praised her as a good daughter. However, my body couldn't help but tremble a little. Those who could be good friends with that psychopath were surely also psychopaths. Thinking of their perverted hobbies, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cellar and seemed to have gone back to my previous life. No way. Sophia was so narrow-minded. Now that she was stepping into that circle, she might sell me out to please Michael at any time. I had already died once, and I didn't dare to hope that I would be reborn again next time. I wanted to survive, so I had to become a capital stronger than the Michael family and a power that the Michael family would have to look up to. But the speed of making money was too slow right now. In a flash of inspiration, I thought of a loophole that I could exploit. Bitcoin. I made up an excuse and left in a hurry. I set aside 1 million yuan as reserve funds and put all the rest of the money into the market in one go. The grand wedding of the century the next day caused a sensation across the country. It was completely different from the low-key luxury in my previous life. I could tell at a glance that it was Sophia's doing. It was said that the wedding cost 2 billion yuan. Just the gift boxes for guests were worth 100,000 yuan each. Sophia was wearing a diamond-encrusted wedding dress, adorned with precious stones, with a smile that almost reached her ears, and stepped onto the red carpet looking blissfully happy. On the other side, Michael was wearing his favorite white suit and gold-rimmed glasses, looking refined and gentle. The master of ceremonies began to read the wedding vows. When he read to Sophia that she should love him, respect him, and accept him for any reason, Sophia was completely immersed in her expectations of a life as a wealthy lady at that moment. Her charming face was full of smiles. With a firm voice filled with an indescribable sweetness, she said, "I do." I saw a strange smile flash across Michael's face. He reached out his hand and stroked Sophia's head affectionately. "Baby, we'll be together for a lifetime." I saw Sophia was so touched that tears flowed down her cheeks. She nodded emotionally and said, "Michael, not just one lifetime, but the next life, and the life after that too." Seeing the bride and groom being so affectionate, everyone below started to cheer and tease them good-naturedly. Only the two best men had an ambiguous look in their eyes. However, everyone was immersed in the lively and festive wedding and no one would notice these anomalies at all. Finally, after struggling through the banquet, I was just about to slip away when Michael called out to me, "Emily, why are you running away so quickly this time too?" What did he mean by that? Could it be that he was hinting at the fact that I had run away quickly after saving him last time? Cold sweat broke out on my back. I forced myself to turn around calmly. Hearing this, Sophia's face also immediately tensed up and she stared at me closely. I once again put on the timid look that he had seen when we first met and said in a low voice, "Brother-in-law." There was a gentle smile on Michael's lips. "You're really busy. I never saw you whenever I went to your home. Today, you're even trying to be among the first to leave the wedding. People who don't know might think I'm so scary." The gentler and kinder he was at this moment, the more I would think of his other side where he secretly killed people and liked to collect human skulls. I tried hard to force out a stiff smile, looking a bit embarrassed and at a loss. Seeing that I had attracted Michael's attention, Sophia looked a bit nervous and interrupted with a smile, "My sister is extremely introverted and doesn't like to talk. During the first 3 years of college, she just knew how to eat, drink, have fun, and sleep. She skipped too many classes. Her teachers are now keeping an eye on her to make up the credits quickly. On the other hand, she also has to rush to finish her graduation thesis. That's why she just happened not to be around." She was really afraid that I would catch Michael's eye, so she was throwing all kinds of bad things at me, but it was just what I wanted. I lowered my head and nodded to echo Sophia's words. My parents also stood up to back her up. "Emily, didn't you say that your teacher asked you to go back to school quickly? Hurry up and go. It'll be troublesome if you can't graduate." I took this opportunity to get away successfully. The next day was the day when Sophia returned to her maiden home. My mother called me and demanded that I return to the Emily family in a tough tone with sobs in her voice. I was secretly shocked. Could it be that Sophia had been messed up by Michael in just one night? But in my previous life, he had clearly waited for a month before laying his hands on me. After finding out indirectly that Michael hadn't gone back with her, I couldn't care less about anything else and rushed home all the way to watch the show. As soon as I entered the house, I saw a haggard-looking Sophia. She was even wearing a long-sleeved high-necked top in the middle of summer. After just one night, the happy look on her face from yesterday had completely disappeared. I was wondering why Michael had made a move ahead of time, but when I caught sight of all the new high-end custom-made clothes on her and the finale emerald bracelet worth several million yuan from last week's Barbara charity gala, I understood. It turned out that she had already grabbed a lot of things before getting married. No wonder Michael was so impatient to make a move. He had grasped Sophia's weakness before the wedding and knew that he could do whatever he wanted to her with money. When she saw me, she excitedly stood up and pulled me forcefully into a small room. After closing the door, she stared at me viciously. "Emily, you're also reborn, right?" I looked blank. "Reborn? Sister, what do you mean? I don't understand at all." Seeing that I didn't seem to be pretending, Sophia hesitated for a moment. Then her eyes became fierce again and she directly grabbed my neck with her hand. "Emily, don't you dare lie to me. Did you know that Michael was a pervert and that's why you gave him to me so readily?" Fortunately, after being tortured all night, her strength wasn't that great. I managed to break free with a little effort. I hid to one side in fear, looking aggrieved and puzzled as I said, "Sister, what are you talking about? Brother-in-law is quite nice. He even said yesterday that he wanted to be good with you for a lifetime. And I gave him to you for the sake of money. I wasn't being so readily willing. It's just that I knew Mom and Dad would definitely help you. It's not like I could stop it even if I wasn't willing." I secretly pinched myself and continued to cry pitifully with tears in my eyes. "Seeing your wedding yesterday, I regretted it so much in my heart. That's equivalent to how many 18.88 million yuan. And brother-in-law is so handsome. For an heir of such a wealthy family, it's normal to have a bit of a temper and be a bit difficult to serve. Maybe after losing his temper and feeling guilty, he'll immediately give a card worth hundreds of thousands of yuan as compensation. For ordinary people, it would take years to save up that much money." Since Sophia didn't notice anything unusual in my behavior after her 2 attempts at probing, and also thought that my analysis made perfect sense, she let down her guard in her heart and agreed with me. Although he didn't accompany her back to her maiden home today, he gave her an affiliated card and asked her to buy more nice things. Thinking of this, Sophia's originally furrowed brows relaxed. She raised her wrist to show a Rolex watch, lifted the corners of her mouth, and looked at me with a reproachful look. "Stop spreading rumors. Who said your brother-in-law has a bad temper? He's been really nice to me." She opened the door and saw my father and mother eavesdropping by the door. Immediately, she took their arms affectionately and complained in a coquettish way, "Mom, Dad, look at my sister. She took the money and still wants to drive a wedge between me and Michael. She must be trying to take my place by taking advantage of the opportunity." Hearing this, my parents were so angry that they pointed at my nose and scolded me for being heartless and coveting my brother-in-law. They told Sophia not to be fooled by me and to hold on tightly to Michael, this wealthy son-in-law. I was used to their distorting the truth. I crossed my arms in front of my chest and leaned against the door frame, saying calmly, "Mom, Dad, Sister, I didn't have such thoughts originally. But if you keep bringing it up again and again, then I'll just have to do as you wish." The 3 of them fell silent all of a sudden and only dared to glare at me resentfully. I also deliberately looked at them with a resentful look. "Sister is now living a life of luxury. I bought a house, and I put all the remaining money into stocks. Now it's all locked up, and I can only honestly go to work. Unlike Sister, who has endless wealth and luxury, and even brought Mom and Dad to live in such a big house." "Mom, you're right. I was really short-sighted." Regret was revealed in and between my words. But when I saw the complacency in Sophia's eyes and her wariness towards me, I knew that this trip wasn't in vain. Before leaving, I provoked her a few more times. Since she had always liked luxury, she immediately looked full of enthusiasm and was about to take our parents to buy luxury cars and jewelry as a punishment for my refusal to give her the money as a dowry back then. I opened my eyes wide and said enviously with a longing look on my face, "Sister is now the daughter-in-law of the richest man. When you go out, you're accompanied by luxury cars and famous bags. Our Emily family should buy a car worth tens of millions of yuan to uphold the dignity of sister as the young mistress of the Michael family." Hearing the price, my parents' eyes lit up and they praised her again. Watching the three of them getting ready to go out for a crazy shopping spree, I slightly raised the corners of my mouth, hoping that Sophia would be stronger tonight. I kindly helped Sophia complete her self-hypnosis. After that, from time to time, she sent me short videos showing the luxurious life she was living in the Michael family. Looking at those 60-second voice messages one after another, I didn't even bother to waste my energy clicking on them. Every time, I would pick up my phone before going to bed and send an envious emoji. Of course, when I was a bit more free, I would also type a few words. "Brother-in-law is really nice to sister. I'm so envious of sister's life." To deal with her, using these 3 lines repeatedly was enough. During this period, quite a number of the live streamers I signed had broken through 1 million followers and started to strive for 10 million. After holding Bitcoin for a month, I only kept half of it and sold it slowly. And by selling half of it, I made a net profit of 10 million yuan. With this money, I immediately started to recruit professional product selection talents to build a team and do a good job in quality control. At the same time, I personally trained them on the speaking skills for live streaming with product promotion. According by their styles, I created a live streaming room atmosphere that matched their personas. Before I was reborn, the live streaming with product promotion industry was already quite mature. Now, directly applying what I knew was like a dimensionality reduction strike against others who were still in the exploratory stage. These live streamers could become popular in their previous lives, which showed that they had talent in this industry. Coupled with my cheat code, within just 2 months, the commissions from product promotion by a dozen or so live streamers alone had earned me tens of millions of yuan. In this newly emerging industry, I made a name for myself and was even called the Star Maker in the e-commerce industry. When I heard this nickname, I was stunned for a moment. Then, in a flash of inspiration, I had a new idea for making money. I invested all the money I earned from the live streaming industry into those movies that were short of funds but became extremely popular after being released. Even when I didn't have enough money, I would take out loans to invest. This way of doing things made me earn the gratitude of many famous directors. I also got in touch with many actors, famous directors, and investors. And the popularity of the movies made my funds grow larger and larger. With my foresight, I then invested in other promising industries. These investments repeatedly broke the myths I had created myself and made me a famous investment god in the business circle. I successfully entered the capital circle with my social network. My assistant reminded me that there was an important dinner party today. The location was Lanshin, a membership-only club with less than 200 members nationwide. Since it was a private dinner party organized by a friend, I simply wore casual clothes to attend it. Unexpectedly, I ran into Sophia here. She looked surprised when she saw me. "Sister, why are you here?" After saying that, she narrowed her eyes slightly and guessed, "Did you see my moments and sneak in here under my pretext, trying to flirt with my husband?" I was also shocked at this time. I hadn't seen her for over half a year, and Sophia seemed like a completely different person. She had lost weight. Her originally round face was almost without any flesh left, and her cheekbones protruded high. Even with heavy makeup on, she couldn't hide her tired look. With her shrill voice, she seemed even more acrimonious and mean, completely losing the youthful vitality she had before and instead giving off an air of the marketplace. I was speechless at Sophia's obsession with female rivalry. Even a pervert like Michael would find her an eyesore. I was just about to speak when I saw Michael and his gang of perverted buddies coming out of the private room behind us. They surrounded me in a group, which instantly brought me back to the most helpless moment in my previous life. My body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Michael, is this your wife's twin sister? She looks so much alike. Michael, you're so lucky. Can you tell the difference between these identical sisters? When you accompanied your wife back to her parents' home, you didn't accidentally go into the wrong room, did you? Several of them looked at me and him maliciously and burst out laughing. Sophia's face looked a bit ugly. She sized me up and down and reprimanded, "Sister, why are you so vain? Instead of working hard, you're always thinking about hooking up with men to get them to spend money on you." I clenched my fists and tried hard to overcome my inner demons. One of the perverts who liked making human skin dolls licked his lips and looked at me with a smile. "Sister-in-law, the little girl just hasn't seen much of the world and came in here to have fun. Since she's here, let's play together tonight." Michael looked at Sophia impatiently and simply decided, "All right, sister, come in and play with us. It'll be more lively with more people." The other's eyes lit up with excitement. If I really went in there wouldn't be a single piece of my body left intact. Once they set their sights on someone, that person would surely end up as one of their collections. Thinking about the career I had built up with so much effort, I forced myself to calm down and said with a smile, "Sorry, I have an appointment with the boss of Jiangfeng Group. You guys carry on. I'll leave first." Hearing this, they burst out laughing again. "Miss, if you're going to make up an excuse, at least make it a bit more believable. You don't even know the name of the boss of Jiangfeng Group, do you?" Michael stretched out his long arm to block my way, raised his eyebrows, and showed a playful smile. "Sister, I didn't expect you to have such an interesting side." Whenever he showed this expression, it meant that a satisfying prey had appeared. I suddenly chuckled, "It's just a coincidence today. Why don't I play host? I'm sure you all know Mr. Huang. Since it's rare for us to meet, we might as well get together. Michael, your sister-in-law is still holding on even after being exposed. How interesting. Why don't we go and check it out?" With someone taking the lead, the others also joined in the jeering, convinced that I was making up stories. I shrugged my shoulders and led them to the private room. "Mr. Huang, sorry for the delay due to something unexpected on the way." Mr. Huang stood up and smiled, "It's okay. Everyone knows how busy you, the investment god, are." Several other bosses also joked and teased me playfully. I said modestly, "No, it's all thanks to your praise, bosses. I'm just a newbie who has just entered the field and still has a lot to learn from you all." Mr. Huang looked behind me, "Isn't this young Master Zhou?" And everyone saw Sophia. Although she had lost weight and only looked about 80% like me, it didn't prevent them from guessing that we were related by blood. I ignored the inquiry in Sophia's eyes and just gave a simple introduction. Michael and the others suppressed the shock in their eyes. Because the people who came this time were almost as powerful as the Zhou family. They would have to address them as uncles when they saw them. They greeted the people present obediently and then left dejectedly. Looking at the look in Sophia's eyes before she left, I knew that the time left for me was running out. At the dinner party, everyone had a great conversation, and many cooperations had a significant impact on my future plans. But one thing was clear. I needed more ways to make money to complete the final counterattack. Those villains had blood on their hands. If I didn't get rid of them, the thorn in my heart would never be pulled out. Soon, I had thought of my next direction. I quickly asked people to set up an entertainment company and threw a list directly at several agents. There were many actors who would become famous in the future but hadn't made a name for themselves yet. I was determined to be the talent scout. The stars who would be extremely popular in the future were still just insignificant nobodies now. And the conditions I offered were all the treatment for top-tier cooperation. For some actors whose contracts hadn't expired yet, I was willing to pay the liquidated damages to poach them over. I had no choice. I was counting on them to continue cooperating with me out of gratitude for recognizing their talent after they became top-tier stars. Unexpectedly, my move completely confused them. Plus, the company was newly registered, and they almost thought I was a scammer. Fortunately, I got Wu Jing, the famous director, to vouch for me. Only then was I able to smoothly recruit those future A-listers and top-tier stars under my wing. Then I quickly matched them with works that would become popular and easily made quite a lot of money again. Soon, I also became well known among the artists in the entertainment industry. There was another legend about me: whoever I signed would definitely become famous. But I didn't have time to care about these empty reputations. Because during this period, I was so busy that I wished I could use a day as 48 hours. Sophia called and sent countless WeChat messages, but I didn't have time to answer them. Finally, I had a few days of free time. I saw the $9.99 plus notification beside the WeChat icon. I sent Sophia a message saying that I had been really busy recently. She immediately called me via voice chat. Looking at her in the video, she was so thin that she almost looked like a different person. Her eyes were bloodshot. Although the sunlight was shining into the room behind her, it still couldn't hide the gloomy aura on her. Emily, you're reborn, aren't you? Otherwise, how could you succeed in every investment? You must also know Michael's true face. You deliberately took my money and even encouraged me to marry him. I leaned leisurely against the back of the chair, took a sip of coffee, and replied in a relaxed manner. Sister, what are you talking about? Did you have a fight with brother-in-law again? I think you're not in a right state of mind. How about I make a call for you to the 4th hospital? Their psychiatric department is really good. We shouldn't avoid seeing a doctor just because we're afraid of the diagnosis. The Michael family is rich, so don't worry about the cost. Sophia threw herself in front of the camera, with red eyes, crying and saying, Sister, please save me. I've heard that you're rich and powerful now. You surely can save me. We're sisters born of the same mother and stayed in her womb for 10 months together. I really can't bear it anymore. If this goes on, I'll be tortured to death by him. I raised my eyebrows and smiled. This is just the beginning. In my previous life, I had already had nowhere to turn for help. I managed to escape after careful planning. Who would have thought that she would block my way? When she hit me with her car and killed me back then, why didn't she think of letting me go? Now she still wants me to save her? I hung up the phone directly, blocked her number with one click, and then smoothly opened the game of Candy Crush Saga. After just 2 hours of entertainment, my parents probably got my address from Sophia and came to make a scene at my office. They rushed into the office like crazy women, pointing at me and scolding, Emily, you're so vicious. You clearly knew Michael's true face but still pushed your sister into the fire pit. Go to the Michael family now and exchange yourself for her. I was stunned for a moment. They had completely forgotten how they forced me to give up the chance to marry into the Michael family and give it to Sophia back then. Mom, what about me? If I exchange myself for her, what will happen to me? She replied without hesitation, this whole thing started because of you. No matter what, you should bear the consequences. You've made your company so big now, but you haven't spent a penny on us. You're really an ungrateful wretch. That kind of hardship should have been yours in the first place. Although my father didn't say anything, I could see his agreement with my mother from his eyes. I curled my lips and laughed at myself. What if I don't go? My father shot me a cold look and threatened, if you don't go, don't blame me and your mother for ruining your reputation online. All the money you're making now is related to the internet. Reputation must be of vital importance to you. I sneered, all right, I'll go there after work. Afraid that I would go back on my word, the two of them waited outside my office door all the time. I followed them to the Michael family after work. When Sophia saw me, she grinned. With her scarlet eyes and a body that was almost just bones left, the morbid state of her being mentally abnormal was even more obvious. It really gave the impression that she had taken some prohibited drugs. Alas, sure enough, once you get involved with that stuff, it's hard to quit. No amount of money would be enough to cover the losses. Would Michael be willing to keep her? It would be strange if he didn't torture her to death to get his money's worth. It's ridiculous that she still looked so complacent, as if she was saying that even though I blocked her, I still came to her obediently in the end. Mom, Dad, you can go now. I'll go back later. Hearing Sophia's words, they carefully told her to remember to take all her things back when she went home and not leave them for me, the ungrateful wretch. As soon as they left, Sophia asked the bodyguards beside her to take me to the basement. Michael had already been waiting down there, and several other perverts were there too. Everyone was present. The environment inside was still as familiar as ever. Water was constantly gushing out of the pool. Beside it was a huge bed, and the table was full of small toys. On the surrounding walls were all kinds of tools for peeling and boning. Sophia introduced them to me one by one with a smile on her face, unable to hide the expectation in her eyes. Pointing to the glass cabinet in the middle that was half filled with skulls, she said, "After you're tortured, you'll soon become one of these collections." I looked at it indifferently, without any emotion. Seeing this, Sophia was very dissatisfied. She raised her hand, wanting to hit me, but was reprimanded by Michael. His voice was as cold as a snake crawling out of the ground. "What right do you have to touch my collections?" Sophia shivered as if by reflex and stood timidly beside him, not daring to make another sound. Michael pointed expressionlessly at the pool beside him. "Go and receive your punishment." Sophia looked terrified and argued in a low voice, "Michael, I've already brought her here to replace me. Can I leave first?" Michael seemed to have heard a joke. "You know all my secrets. Do you think I'll let you go?" Sophia was so scared that she knelt beside Michael's legs, shaking her head and crying, "Michael, you promised me." "I swear I won't say a word. Believe me." Seeing this scene, I shook my head and smiled. Michael asked me curiously what I was smiling at. I shrugged my shoulders. "I'm laughing at someone who's so stupid as to believe the words of a devil." Sophia realized that I was mocking her and was so angry that she wanted to rush at me, but she was afraid of Michael's words. Seeing my calmness, Michael became even more interested in me. "Your sister said that you were married to me in your previous life, and that's why you took the money so readily and gave me to her?" I frowned helplessly. "Mr. Michael, look at my sister's current mental state and her attitude towards me. She'll make up whatever can make me suffer the most." Sophia naturally denied what I said and intensified her attacks on me. She hasn't become any smarter after staying in the Michael family for so long. No wonder she could only endure for such a short time. I rolled my eyes and couldn't be bothered to pay attention. Instead, Michael had a bit less suspicion of me. But because of this, Michael's punishment for Sophia became even crueler. She was lying on the ground with bruises all over her body, her face full of pain, constantly begging for mercy. "Emily hasn't been punished yet. She's much more fun. Try her, please." Hearing her pleas for mercy, Michael's several brothers looked even more excited. Sophia's fingernails fell off one by one, and soon it was her fingers. She was enduring these pains while still conscious. Michael looked at me with a smile and said, "Don't rush. It's not your turn yet." The corners of my mouth lifted slightly. "Mr. Michael, aren't you joining in?" Michael gave me a meaningful look and then joined in as well. I quietly pressed the gem on my pinky ring. A few minutes later, I got up to the ground level of the Michael family's residence and took a breath of fresh air. I watched with great interest as the police raided this den of devils. Michael's parents were sentenced to 20 years in prison for multiple crimes including covering up, harboring criminals, and bribery. Thanks to all kinds of evidence I kindly provided and the exposure of their evil deeds in the entertainment industry, the Michael group completely collapsed. Michael and those perverts were sentenced to death for the heinous crime of intentional homicide. Sophia and my parents, who helped Michael to lure me, were accomplices and were sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, prohibited items were found in Sophia's bedroom, which changed the nature of the case completely, and her sentence was immediately changed to life imprisonment. I was able to get in touch with the police smoothly, and it was all thanks to that dinner party. I voluntarily handed over 70% of the operating profits of all my industries to the authorities for various scientific research, especially military enterprises such as aerospace. For me now, money is just a number. Even if you have tons of gold at home, you only need 3 meals a day. Even if you own vast tracts of fertile land, you only sleep on a bed 3 feet wide. This rebirth is like a chance stolen from heaven. Doing something meaningful makes it worthwhile to have lived through these 2 lifetimes.